Do you read me over?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. All right. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? Friday night's Eve, baby Friday, but goddamn, it's almost the weekend, baby. Hey, let's get all the pleasantries out of the way and let's talk, and then we'll get right into it. I think I got a pretty good topic that's important for all of us that, have found ourselves transition out of the military. Now, by the way, I've done it 2 times in my lifetime, okay? So, hey, this show is brought to you basically by me. I'm the one who does all these amazing things and help veterans out. For one, is basically help you allocate and put some strategies together that are going to help you, set yourself straight up for your future. Whether that is as we're getting ready to talk about transitioning out of the service, putting things together that later on in life you can have some things, basically not find yourself having to work a second career when you're in your late 60s and 70s. What I mean by that is basically knowing what your financial independence number is. And as far as paying yourself first, because a lot of you, and here when I talk just a second about claims and benefits, a lot of you, maybe you're at 0%, 30%, 40% on your VA claims and benefits, but what are you going to do with that extra money once you get that desired outcome? Maybe you're going to be 100%. You want to put that money to work for you, giving yourself, basically sacrificing some of that money and setting it aside so that money grows over time, so that later on you have something that will sustain you for the rest of your life. Because a lot of you, maybe you're not retired from the service. Maybe you're depending on your VA claims and benefits and that 401k that you're working at that job. So you want to have some things together that not only will help you, but also help your family in the event of your absence. So that's where I come in. At the moment, I don't get paid anything to do this show. So, but helping you guys out, as well as putting your VA claims and benefits and taking advantage of the PAC Act and all and the good things that are going on right now as far as for veterans claims and benefits. Take the time to do that, because at the end of the day, right now you may be at 20%, and I can help you, and by showing you how to reapply. Maybe you got 10% the first time you did it and you don't know what to do as far as moving forward. I can help you and show you how to do those things so that way you take advantage of the VA, and because something's better than nothing. So let me help you. Let me show you the way. And at the end of or maybe you want to make an extra $1,000, $1,500 that, by working part-time, I can help you with that as well. So let's get together. Let's have a conversation. And if it makes sense at the end, great. If not, that's okay too. So take advantage of that. And you can, it's all on the show description, or you can shoot me a direct message through LinkedIn and all the other platforms. Okay. Also, huge shout out and thanks to the folks at Sitchradio for allowing us to use their platform. Always, their support is always welcome and appreciated. So if you want to get into the podcasting game, or you just need some mentoring and coaching on your life, Brian Coburn is a good person to reach out to. He has a lot of knowledge on many different things that I would highly recommend that you take advantage of. Okay. So, and look, this show is all about the First Amendment, as well as the right to bear arms and all the great things that us defending the Constitution in every climate place we did. Because at the end of the day, if you like what you hear, great. Like, subscribe, and follow. Make sure you check out all my other channels on social media, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that good stuff. or if maybe you don't like it as well, that's okay. We can agree to disagree and check some other stuff out from Sitchradio.com. All right. So, with that being said, and all the pleasantries out of the way, let's get this show going. So, like I said, I was thinking, man, what would be beneficial or of that we can talk about on today's show. Well, I know that leaving the military isn't just about turning in your gear and getting that DD 214. There's a lot of other things that, and I think we've talked about a little bit of this in the past, because it is a full blown identity shift. So we're gonna dig deep a little bit deeper into what it really means and getting it transitioning out of this uniform, and we're gonna we'll unpack some of the emotional as well as financial and tactical realities of becoming a civilian again, or as some of us jarheads that a nasty civilian. But in reality, how to prep. But we want to prep like a pro and be ready for that, because as I was just talking with my niece earlier today, she's about to turn 18. Life is gonna come at you like that, and it's gonna be really quick. Before you know it, you're in one moment you were stepping on the yellow footprints, being getting ready to get yelled at by your drill instructors. The next moment, 4 years, 10, 15 have passed, and you're already retiring and looking at your next venture. So you want to not only make that time count, but also make that transition as smooth as possible. So, we'll talk about some of the realities and whether you're months out of separation and just kind of marinate on the idea. Let's talk about job hunting, how to shift your mindset, as well as how to avoid becoming another lost statistic, because it can happen. I mean, it does happen quite a bit. So, because there is a mental aspect and a mental battle that we go through, because we're thinking like, man, what now? What am I going to do? I'm taking off this uniform, and which you've been identifying with this identity from the moment you were indoctrinated, because it is an indoctrination process when we go through boot camp. We're getting yelled at by drill instructors, drill sergeants, whatever you call them in the different branches. And you've been that warrior that bark, in the whole bark, woof woof, motivated, dedicated, and all that good stuff. And then it's like, okay, now what? And let me tell you, it does. When you're there again, some of us may be able to transit, are already ready, like, oh, thank God, 4 years have gone by or whatever, and you're ready to move on. But I'm telling you, the majority of us go through this identity shift. Maybe not initially, because we're like, oh man, I can't, no more haircuts, no more. And by the way, I just got a fresh haircut myself today, kind of getting in that mindset from way back when I got out of the service. But it eventually it'll hit you like, oh wow, there's no more of this, no more of that. Wow, what and then especially those of us who are job hunting, and which we'll talk about later in the show. But it just civilian life isn't always as easier as we really tend to think. And it's just different. You got to learn how to things that are okay in our within our realm in the military are really not okay in the private sector. The way we talk is different. The way we address one another is different. The way we dress is completely different. And we've been, because I did it for 20 plus years. Going to work, in uniform with your belt and this, or in civilian attire, professional civilian attire, all these things. There are a lot of things that even at some jobs, some people show up in certain things that you're like, oh my God, did you just literally roll out of bed, or to come to work? Because I mean, I've seen it, and I was like, oh my God, what made you want to really wear those type of clothing? You know what I'm saying? So, it's just our civilian counterparts, and not to hate them for it, but they're just, things are just different in the private sector. And in the silent mental health toll of separating, as well as ask, it can actually take its toll on us, and we can spiral out of control. Like, oh man, I put in all this time into this. I feel like I'm not prepared. So my advice for as somebody that's not only have I separated from the service once, I've done it twice in my life. I did it as after my 4 years. Then I came back in, and I came back in not because out of need, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Whatever. It just, I generally missed it. I wanted to get back into the uniform, but it took for me to get out as a civilian for like a year and some change for me to realize, hey, you know what? I do want to be a Marine and make this a career. That was okay for me. It's not okay for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it will, so because of all that pressure, it can be easy to go into that rabbit hole, and let's compound it with maybe you've had some trauma from deployments from the past, whatever, that it can actually take its toll on us. So we want to make sure that we're okay and that we're prepared for that. And it's important to have a why before you get out. Okay, as these many years I've identified myself as a warrior, as a Marine, doing all these things. What is my next purpose? Trying to somewhat clearly define something, what my purpose or my why is. It'll help you out as transitioning out, because and it doesn't, and look, it doesn't have to be your family, it doesn't have to be your wife, your kids, whatever it is that gets you in that mindset to get out will help you, whether it's for you, whether it's for your next career, or whatever. And I think that DoD is gotten a little bit better, because it's getting people on the I forgot the name of the program that they have now, where service members can actually go kind of try out different types of job environments, where they can go work at a company without getting paid, because the Marine Corps is paying them. It's kind of like they're on terminal leave, but they're also working as civilians. So you can try out different, one of those different programs. So you can, okay, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that, because it's just not 98. And if hopefully you've done financially where you've done things correctly, and hopefully you'll reach out to me so I can help you put those strategies together years before you get out, or maybe in a few months out. It doesn't really matter, where we can give you a cushion where maybe you just want to decompress for a little bit, and because you don't want to, you feel like you need to not work for a while to just kind of get to know you, and maybe you want to go fishing. I don't know. Just do want to do those things, because it is it is a paperwork gauntlet. Breaking down your DD-214 and what makes this to catch before you sign it. You want to make sure that thing is completely solid, because once you want to make sure that all your training and all your training, all your deployments, all your awards and medals, you want, hopefully you've kept a paper trail throughout your career as to, and if you haven't, please, now is the time, and listen to this, is that, okay, make sure that all your awards, your meritorious letters of recommendation, all those things that are not on your service record book, make sure that you start throwing them in there, because at the end of the day, your personnel office or S1 makes mistakes. Your leadership in your company office and that company clerk are going to make mistakes. It is just you and only you, the one who can be held accountable and you can control to make sure that all those things are on there. Because as you start going through the process, once that DD-214 is signed and submitted, and you get your 4 copies, it's pretty much a done deal. If there's any mistakes, you're gonna have to deal with defense, finance, administration services, And just you might it might as well take an act of Congress for you to try to change those mistakes. And somebody like myself, who was enlisted, became a warrant officer, and as you're going through that warrant officer process, you actually get a DD-214 because your days as enlisted end. So I have multiple DD-214s, and you best believe that I made sure that things were in them to make sure, especially when I retire, because that way I can show proof. Maybe an employer needs that information, maybe because you're going to forget stuff. Maybe you need some things. I'm like, oh yeah, I was in this deployment, so you can start uh, translating some of those things that you did in the service into civilian terms. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Um, and then also starting the VA rating process and getting that squared away early, and don't wait until you're out. Why do I say that? Because I one of the, and you when I open the show, always I tell you that I help veterans apply for the claims and benefits. I do that. I don't charge a dime out of that. Although many people said, man, you should start getting paid for it. It is what it is, because I do it out of the kindness of my heart, because I want to help you guys out. I show you how to fish, and I show you how to do it so that way you can do it yourself in my absence. But what I'm trying to say is that you want to start the VA process. If it's 180 days out from your EAS, from your end of active service, start on that day and get the ball rolling. So because there is going to be a gap once you're out, and hopefully within 30 days or 60 days, that VA claims that you'll hear something that, hey, your rating is this, and that way you'll have some of that income, whatever that may be. Maybe it's 100, good for you. Maybe it's less than that, but that'll also give you time to reapply and appeal those claims and benefits, because it's much easier for you to have all that medical documentation right then and there to turn in to that VA rep while you're still in, instead of having the VA, maybe you've been out 10, 15, 20 years. Now the VA has to request that information from Kansas City. And let me tell you that the filing system is not the best. So things are going to get missed. And unfortunately, if it's not in your service record book or your medical record book, it basically didn't happen. Now the burden is on you to prove that those things happen. Whereas it's much easier while you're still in, because they're going to, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take your word, and you have access to the medical records. Okay. So get that going as soon as possible. And then obviously retirement versus separation benefits. What's the best out of, okay, if I retire out of service, maybe I'm at the 10-year mark, and it's like, wow, should I stick in? Now, look, if there's underlying circumstances that you got to get out because of XYZ reason, you got to do what you got to do, or you want to separate out of the service because of, whatever. So you got to weigh in those options and what are the benefits. Obviously, after you get out and separate, with 100% VA disability claims and benefits, obviously there's a lot of things you can, you have tax benefits that may apply to you, through different organizations, as well as in your, some states will give you no taxes on your home, free hunting license. The VA will give you other things like free eye and dental care, bunch of other things. Whereas if you retire, obviously, you're going to have TRICARE for retirees. You're going to have that pension coming in. Things may differ if you're a reservist too. So those are the things that you want to, again, start weighing into, even from the time that you first came in. I mean, if you're a brand new person and you're listening to the show, I would highly seek out guidance from somebody that's been in the show. I mean, not in the show, that's been in this, in the service for a couple of years, maybe a senior sergeant, or E5, E6 that's been around, E7, and even your OICs, ask them and see what they say. And because you want to have everything documented, and that keeps document. Even when I used to do safety, and hell, and even in the finance industry, you need to have proper documentation in the event that things go south. That because people are human, people are going to make mistakes. Even computers make mistakes in the sense that sometimes, even when you're scanning something, and using technology, things are going to get missed. The machine gets jammed. That document doesn't get uploaded. Whatever. Have your own documentation yourself, and it's also a financial reality check because you're going from steady paychecks. As I had a gunny that used to say that the eagle shits on the 1st and the 15th. He used to say, Gunny, shout out to Gunny Kirkman. And you're used to that paycheck and uh, that housing allowance. Uh, so and that's very nice, having all those things, and especially if you're here when you're in San Diego. When I used to be in San Diego, it is the highest BAH that in the DOD, and it was great. And now you move out, you go back to Podunky, middle of the USA. Now you don't have that. Then what? I mean, and we're used to that nice paycheck, uh, and the times off too, and the holidays, the 72s, 96s, all those weekend passes. So you need to start learning how to budget. And a lot of people get turned off by the word budget. Uh, Not me anymore. I used to be like, man, because I do this for a living now, and I help people implement strategies and techniques so that transition is over, and learning how to pay yourself, and learning how to setting aside. And one thing that you're going to have to think about is that your thrift savings plan, your TSP that you've been putting into, don't leave it there sitting in the system, because you can't contribute, you can't do anything with it. If you have an emergency, you can't tap into it without having to go through a bunch of red tape and paperwork to get access to that money. Roll it over onto something like a light vehicle, like a individual retirement account, or IRA or IRA, as some people know it. Having it outside of the TSP, because in the event of an emergency, you can actually access that money much easier and quicker. Having things already implemented so that, because SGLI, single group life insurance through Prudential, which is not the best, it's going to stop. And God forbid you have an emergency or you pass because of your service-connected disabilities or whatever. Then what? What are you going to do? VGLI is doing this for a while now in the finance industry. VGLI is good if you have some serious health underlying circumstances. Other than that, there's plenty of other ways that you can protect yourself and protect your family, because you definitely want to continue that life insurance, because that is, you're guaranteeing your family something that in the event that something happens to you, your family doesn't have to liquidate some of their investments. It's just something, excuse me, and it's just a minimal payment, and you want to do it while you're still in, because you're still healthy, you're still young, you don't have any underlying circumstances, and it's much easier to do that paperwork instead of doing it after. Okay. And then getting your financials and your retirements in line and order, as I mentioned earlier, because it's important. Don't wait until you get out. It's just fighting an uphill battle. And then we're trying to translate those military skills. When I first got out in 2014, it was, and even in 1997, that was the first time I got out. It was a little bit different. We didn't have the tools. Again, in 97, we didn't have the tools that we do nowadays, like Google. And there is, Google now has a search engine or a military skill set translating tool. I know, USMC.mil used to have these things as well. And you have a lot of resources and employees that work for this, on base, that will help you transition and translate all these things. So start getting all that stuff out. And heck, you can even reach to me if you need help. If you need a resume template and things like that, I'll be more than glad to share. Plagiarism is the greatest form of flattery, is what we used to say when I was in. So then I know plenty of resources and people who've been on the show, like Russell Levy from Veterans Transition Support, which you can go to vts.com or Google that organization, and you can hit them up on LinkedIn, as well as other resources that he can help you with all those things. And by the way, they this weekend, as a matter of fact, they're doing a free OSHA class right there in San Marcos. Please feel free to reach out to them, and it's a free OSHA 10-hour. Yours truly is going to be helping out and volunteering there this weekend. I highly recommend that you guys take advantage of that. If you want more information, hit me up on the show. I'll be more than glad to share that with you. And you want to, also one thing that, is the jargon. You got to stop saying fire team, my fire team leader, and maybe you want to say project coordinator. Instead of good to go, it's saying that sounds great. Or maybe, instead of hoorah or huh, or whatever, maybe you want to say, oh man, that's fantastic. Or yes, I understand. Or I, ma'am, just yes, I will get that done. Thank you for, get rid of the jargon. Again, I know, I get it. You've been part of that. And then you're going to find some of your fellow service members, vets within your organization. That's cool when you talk amongst each other. Or maybe some of them have been out so long that they don't even remember some of that. So, but do your best not to be that guy or gal that's like, here comes, the guy who hasn't let it go. You don't want to be that individual. Save that for the VFW and the American Legion, or when you're having, when you're talking with your buddies from you were in, okay? And then you want to learn, using things, the language. Let me, I lost my notes here. Using resources like DOL, Skills Translator, as I just mentioned earlier, or O.net, that things like that. Skills Bridge there you go. That's the organization I wanted to say. Skills Bridge. I think Skills Bridge is a great thing that the DoD is doing by allowing you go work at a company and kind of embedding yourself in the civilian sector so you can try different things out. I know plenty of fellow veterans who did that as they were transitioning out. It was in its bare infancy stages when I was in. I didn't take part of that, to be honest. I just wanted to kind of hang out and just kind of decompress for a little bit. And I know the crap out of my family back then, to be honest. And then understanding how civilians view leadership. It's completely different, as well as accountability and task management. So the days of you knife handing people and and yelling, those days are done and over. Okay, you don't want to find yourself with HR and your supervisor being talked at and being because you're too intense, or you just kind of flip your lid on one of your fellow coworkers. You can't be doing those things. I will say this, that knowing when to not be taken advantage of because of you're a veteran. And I use me as an example. I worked in a very toxic environment at my last company, where my boss was basically gaslighting me and mistreating me in a very skilled way, where she was just kind of flying under the radar. But just know that legally, companies cannot talk, your boss cannot talk to you in a certain way. The days of you having to come in because of whatever reason, because the team needs you and you're on a salary, those days are done. You don't have to do that. You got to know your legal rights and know when to call out, in a tactful manner. Know how to, but always document and record your conversations and follow up with emails. hey, based on our last conversation, this is what you said, this is what I did, blah, 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 blah. You can do that and maintain records, because I did that, and it just saved my behind a lot of times. And, because companies, at the end of the day, companies don't want to get sued, especially if you're a disabled veteran that just, that, you're just trying to do your thing and basically, hey, do your job and move on. You know what I'm saying? So, and you want to, the other thing is hunt and search for a job with purpose. Okay. Do your job analysis, do how much it pays, and here's something that you want to take and do your part. And yes, start out your VA claims and benefits. So that way, hopefully there won't be a gap in pay. Because if you get more than 50%, that's some monies that you're going to have coming in. I mean, every little bit helps. And if you're a retiree, you're going to have a steady income coming in. Not, it won't be every 2 weeks. It'll be on the first of the month, and that's it. But give yourself that breathing room, so to speak, so you don't feel desperate, like, oh my God, I have to jump on a job immediately. But you want to look for vet friendly, and be careful of vet friendly scams or dead end jobs and things like that. Know your worth. If you want to have a private conversation, you can feel free to reach out to me in the show. I'll be more than glad to share the do's and don'ts and things to be aware of. But at the end of the day, look, a company can say, and I did a TikTok on this, and you could check out my channel at the Field Up on TikTok. A company's gonna say, yeah, look, we appreciate veterans, we love you, we're here, but at the end of the day, look, you're just gonna get a pizza party, maybe a cake or something during here in November come Veterans Day. That's it. Yeah, I mean, that's the harsh reality of things. Okay. And but the moment you start taking too much time off for your VA claims, your VA visits, or your medical stuff, they're gonna say, hey, you're taking way too much time, and you're gonna do you're gonna have to start taking PT, your paid time off, or your the days that your leave dates, whatever you want to call them in civilian side, so you can do these things. I mean, that's the reality of things. So you want to take those things into consideration, because not everybody's going to be appreciated. Thanks for your service, but get your butt to work. I mean, that's how it works. Okay. So things that they don't tell you. Some people won't understand the military version of you. That's the reality. You're going to feel lost sometimes, like, man, I can't find my path. That's why you don't want to completely disconnect from the people that your network. Even on LinkedIn, stay connected with your friends and everything, and reach out if you want to have your military field. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a buddy. We can reach out to the show, but prepare your family and your lifestyle, because it is going to be a shift. It's going to be a huge change for everybody. And then finding your new tribe. You want to find your new friends. That's why you want to get plugged in with organizations that have been on this show, like people from veterans. VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, Warrior Build, that's another organization that I'm involved, Veterans Transition Support. I mean, all these, you want to plug in and stay with people that are like-minded, that have been there, maybe they've been out the longest. So, because you're gonna make things that I wish I knew. You're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna have your personal stories, just like me. I mean, it was a bit of, I ended up leaving after 8 months, a job that I thought was going to be great, but toxic environment, toxic people. It was, and there was a fellow, a bunch of retirees in the office, but it just didn't work out for me. And that's okay. And the more you realize what your net worth is and what your self-worth is, and what a company is going to pay you, the quicker you realize that. And again, if you need help with that, let me know, because I'll be more than glad to help you. And it's just going to alleviate a lot of things for you, so that way you don't get taken advantage of and take a job that's just not worth the real you. If I could do it all over again, what would I have changed? Maybe I would have, kind of started deciding a lot sooner what I was going to do after I got out. But I don't see those as bad things. I see those as lessons that have shaped things with where I'm at today. So And I wouldn't change that for the world. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to have I tell you what, it's having being able to dictate your own time, your own things, and spending time with your family. That is the best thing that you can do. I guarantee you that. Versus, because a lot of us get brainwashed or sucked into, I'm gonna, you gave your body, mind, soul, and spirit to the military, and you're still on that mindset, and you start applying it in the military, in the civilian sector. That's not going to get you anywhere. All that is going to do is they're going to take advantage of that and work you like a dog. And the moment you do something different, they're going to, hey, you've been doing this, what happened, blah blah, now you're fired or whatever. So it's you first, taking care of you, and then taking care of that job, actually taking care of you, taking care of your family, and that job comes in last. So if you have any questions, if you want to bounce things off, you can always feel free to reach out to the show. I am hiring. I don't hire. Our company is expanding. Our company is looking for people. Our company wants to teach you and give you the skill sets that you can do something part-time, so that way you can do things on your own, under your own pen. Let me show you how you can actually learn and earn at the same time. And the training is all paid by us. There's no contracts, no commitments, none of that stuff. I mean, it is building something together for you. But at the end of the day, it's something that will give you the freedom of doing whatever the F you want. So hit me up. Let's have a conversation. Look, at the end, if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. Just say so. And maybe later on, maybe it might not make sense now, but it may make sense later on. But let me show you the possibilities of how you can do that. Okay? And look, if you've been ruminating, you feel alone, you feel like the world is collapsing, or the floor is collapsing from under you, give me a call. Let's have a chat. Maybe you want to talk to a therapist, military one source, Striker, the VA hotline, but don't do anything stupid like taking your own life. Because at the end of the day, it's us and your family wondering what is that we can have helped you to prevent you from doing such a thing. So hit me up at the show, because you do matter and we do care about you. So I think this is a good time to index everybody. So with that being said, Ice Tomas, Daisuki. I'll see you later. See you next week. All right, get some. Bye-bye.